How's it going, everybody? My name is Cameron White and welcome back to your favorite monthly horoscope. This time for March of 2024, Taurus, Sun, and Rising. Thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you. We are going to just go ahead and jump right into it. I know I haven't been here for a while and we have a lot to talk about. The first thing that we've got going on for you, Taurus, is on March 3rd, we're going to be having Venus enter Taurus. This is really exciting for you guys because Venus is going into its home sign, and you guys are ruled by Venus since you're either a Taurus rising or a Taurus sun. Now, Venus, as you guys should know, the planet of love, romance, indulgence. She wants to connect us to things. She wants things to be brought to us. She doesn't want to have to go and chase things like she had to in Aries. Venus in Taurus deals with being receptive, being fertile to that. Venus in Taurus is about kind of being grounded and having that value really start to come to life. And as Venus is in its home sign where Venus can do its job and have the resources it needs to do its job effectively and as well as it can, Venus is going to be going into your first house of yourself, of your personality, what you look like, how you react and respond. Venus will probably eventually hit your ascendant as well, which is going to be really awesome. But the good news is while Venus is in Taurus going through your first house, hey, this is going to be a good time if you want to do a makeover or if you want to buy some nice clothes for yourself. Whatever is going to make you feel good about how you are and who you are, that's what's going to be the best thing for you during this time. Venus is going to be in Taurus for all of March. There's really not a lot to say here except for the fact you're going to be feeling good, you're going to be looking good, you're going to be feeling confident about that. So there is some good news to look forward to with Venus being in Taurus. But the next thing that we've got going on is also on March 4th, is we're going to be having Mercury retrogress back into Aquarius. Now, Mercury has been retrograde in Pisces in your 11th house, bringing some confusion or some miscommunication with friends. And as Mercury kind of goes back into Aquarius, this is kind of taking the focus on Mercury and Pisces being focused on, what wasn't said, what was, I wasn't sure what was being communicated when this was being said. Mercury going back into Aquarius is kind of helping us give some structure and a little bit more reason and a little bit more logic into how we're communicating and what we're communicating. This can also be, there might have been a miscommunication with, colleagues in your workplace. So definitely be aware of what was going on in the workplace for you guys or with friendships. And as Mercury goes back into Aquarius, into your 10th house, this is where, some of those issues can start to get resolved and it'll be a lot easier to see where the problem is and a lot easier to bring a solution to it. The next thing we have going on after that is on March 9th is when we're going to be having the full moon in Virgo. As well, Mercury stations direct. Now, with the full moon in Virgo, that means the sun's been in Pisces. We've been in Pisces season. And while the sun's in Pisces, it's an immutable sign. So we're starting to change. We're starting to see things different, feel things differently. The seasons are changing. We're going from, winter to spring. And as the sun's in Pisces and we start to really kind of transmutate how we feel, how we operate, going from, that winter cold to that spring, fun and growth. This full moon in Virgo is about going like, hey, what seeds do we need to plant? What needs to get started? Where is our to-do list? Where is our checklist at? And this is happening in your 5th house of love, of romance, of, art, music, sex, children. The 5th house is a really fun place. But as the sun's been in your 11th house of friends and communities and groups, this full moon in Virgo is asking, what do you want to connect to? What are you wanting to do with this? What are these people bringing for you? This full moon in Virgo is also going to be a really good time to be a little bit more clear about what you're looking for when it comes to love and romance. What are your needs? And are you getting those needs met? If you have Virgo ruling your 5th house, you're probably making a checklist. And this full moon in Virgo is going to be kind of a good time to make a checklist of what do you want? Whether that is love and sex, or maybe that's something, dealing with your children, or maybe you're a musician or an artist and you've been really wanting to pursue that more. This full moon in Virgo is going to be a really beneficial time for that. But also, Mercury stations direct on that day. And this is where, those problems and those conflicts that we were just talking about before start to get resolved. Mercury's in your 10th house, so, if this isn't dealing with career stuff, this might just be dealing with like, the miscommunication that might have happened in friendships kind of gets brought out and brought to life, and that conversation happens like for everyone to see. The 10th house is also a public house, so everyone can see it. So maybe if you had that miscommunication with friends, it happens that, the apology or the clarification happens in public. It's up to you to see how it's going to affect you in your life, but as Mercury stations direct, this is going to give us a logical reasoning behind, you know, how to address this conflict or how to address this miscommunication or this error in the best way possible. But then just a few short days after that, on March 16th is when Mercury is going to go back into Pisces. And as Mercury goes back into its detriment sign, this is where communication still isn't clear, but as Mercury's in shadow, we know a little bit better now to not, you know, to be a little bit more clear about what we say. As Mercury's in Pisces, it's not about being, you know, black and white, crystal clear, but being able to interpret things and understand them in your own sense that makes sense for you, but aren't, you know, misinterpreted from what the other person's saying. Mercury in Pisces, it's going to be kind of hard to get all of our ideas out. I mean, I'm recording this with Mercury in Pisces right now, and I've literally messed up like almost every single take and every word I've said, saying things different, spelling things the wrong way, but that's just how it's going to be. But as it goes through your 11th house, this is kind of bringing that towards friendships, towards groups. So if you're hanging out with your friends, being more social, you might see some weird reactions if you're not speaking clearly, or maybe your friends actually aren't really communicating with you all too clearly. So this is just going to be a time to not take things super, you know, literally within friendship groups, or not take things super seriously. Let things kind of be open for interpretation. And then after that, once we get towards the end of the month, I know we're already there, but on March 20th is when the sun enters Aries. This is when the sun goes into your 12th house. Now, luckily, the sun is going into its exalted sign, so the sun really likes to be here. The sun likes to, you know, feel itself in Aries. It's wanting to begin. It's starting to get brighter. It's starting to get hotter. The sun likes that. But the sun is going to be going into your 12th house of isolation, alienation, repressed and unacknowledged parts of yourself. So this might be a time where you stay a little bit more isolated or maybe a little bit more alienated, but you start feeling a little bit more, you know, better about yourself. You also might find yourself a little bit more frustrated, a little bit more angry. But this is going to be a time where you start to kind of, you know, if you spend some time doing your own thing alone, you'll start to kind of bring up certain parts of yourself that you acknowledge and see, and you're like, man, I can do this, or man, I can do that. You're going to be feeling good, but just kind of like in private, not necessarily out for the whole world to see. That's where Venus and Taurus comes in, where you're just going to look good for the world to see. But then the next big thing is we actually have a pretty huge fucking thing going on, is on March 21st, we're having Saturn enter Aquarius. Now, Saturn's going to be in Aquarius for like 3 months, and it's going to go back into Capricorn in July, but it will go back into Aquarius here at the end of December. So we kind of get a sneak preview of what the next 3 to 4 years are going to, or technically 2.5, 3, but I'm saying 4 because of the number thing. 3 to 4 years, what the next 3 to 4 years are going to look like for you guys. And Saturn's going from your 9th house of, you know, long distance travel, foreign cultures, belief, higher education, spirituality, where Saturn could have been bringing a lot more difficulties, limitations, constraints, as well as responsibilities, obligations, commitments. As Saturn moves from your 9th house, it's going into your 10th house, where in your 10th house, Saturn's going to be causing either more limitations, constraints, walls, barriers within your career, your workplace, or maybe your boss. Also, as well, Saturn can be very much about taking on more responsibilities, getting promoted, having more, you know, obligations, being more committed to your career and what you're wanting to develop or what you are developing in your career. The big difference here is, you know, depending if you're born in the day or born in the night, is going to show you if Saturn's going to really wreck you or if Saturn's going to really help you. But the good news is here is while Saturn was in Capricorn, it was wanting us to focus on the most, you know, cheap and efficient way to get the job done. Very corporate minded. However, as Saturn goes into Aquarius, this is about going, what is the most logical? What has the best rationale? What is the easiest way? And what is the way that everyone kind of thinks that it can kind of get done? Capricorn is about really keeping the cost low, the system easy. With Aquarius, it's kind of about going, what's going to work best for everybody and everything involved, and what's going to make the most sense. So as Saturn goes into Aquarius, there is a breath of fresh air a little bit. However, as it goes into your 10th house, this is kind of coming with career stuff. So you get to focus on that for the next 3 months. Yay. But then it all kind of comes back and you'll deal with it again. But anyway, just pay attention to what kind of goes on for the next few months. Then on March 22nd, we actually have Mars conjoining Pluto, where it's going to be with now Jupiter, Pluto, Mars, South Node, Saturn just left Capricorn at that point. And as Mars conjoins Pluto, you're going to feel kind of a power struggle here within your ninth house of, far distance travel, foreign cultures, publishing, higher education. There's a lot of different ways the ninth house can really look, but you might see some power struggles coming from this area. While Mars has been transiting your ninth house, this ninth house area has been very active for you. A lot of things have been kind of coming to life. You've either been really busy with this area or this area has been kind of causing you some issues. If that's the case, Mars conjoining Pluto is going to be kind of like either that time where you really take a break from traveling, or maybe you take a break from school, or Mars conjoining Pluto, might be the time where it's like time to address some issues that you might be having here and kind of go face to face with them. But then the next day on March 23rd is when we have the new moon in Aries. Now, this is a little bit exciting for you guys. It's going to be a little bit weird because it's in your 12th house. So we are talking about, clearing out and being a little bit more aware of what we suppress, what we don't acknowledge, our subconscious, being alienated, being isolated. This new moon in Aries is kind of about leveling that out, kind of balancing out our energy, clearing the way. And as this happens in your 12th house, this might kind of give you an opportunity to go to be by yourself and to kind of give yourself some time away to go hey, what do I need to do? Where do I need to center myself? Who am I? And this is going to be kind of an exciting thing to kind of get your, get that pep in your step as we kind of go along with the spring. And that's the new moon in Aries. The next thing that we really have going after that is on March 30th. That's when we're going to have Mars also enter Aquarius. Now, one thing I want to bring up is as Mars enters Aquarius, it's going to conjoin Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius. Later this year, Jupiter is going to conjoin Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius. So there might be something that happens on March 30th that you might have to readdress or come back to when we get to the end of this year in December 12th. So just be aware for that. I know that I'm asking a lot of you to think, to remember something that will be 10 months or 9 months previous. However, I think it's going to be a little bit interesting, but as Mars leaves your ninth house and enters your 10th as it goes into Aquarius, this is where you might see more frustrations, fights, conflicts going on in your workplace, but also this might be a time where you just put more and invest more energy into working. What are you wanting to build with your career? I know a lot of Taurus risings that are actually been going through school, and as Saturn leaves your ninth house, once you're done getting your degree, Saturn and Mars go into your 10th house. It's time to start focusing on work and what needs to be brought up in there. However, as Mars goes into Aquarius, this is about not necessarily being a workhorse like Mars in Capricorn is. Mars in Aquarius is about going what's going to work best for me? How can I do things in a different way, in an unorthodox way, but it helps you, whatever's going to be easier and best for you. And as Mars conjoins Saturn, this is kind of about getting a grip on everything, kind of going hey, what do I need to dedicate myself to? What do I need to commit my energy towards? And how do I need to, set some goals? With Mars conjoining Saturn in Aquarius, this is about doing things differently. This is about doing what works best for you, not just not what has the best and the most efficient system, not what everyone else is doing. So as Mars does conjoin Saturn and Aquarius, this is going to be an exciting way to start April off doing something different. We're going to have completely different energy, and April turns into a whole different universe. But we'll be talking more about that next time. There wasn't a lot of things I covered in this horoscope. I wanted to cover all the big things. I'm kind of doing this a little bit different. It's been a while since I've done these horoscopes. It's almost been 6 months, but let me know what you guys think. Let me know where, if any of these specific planets, or if you have any specific planets being affected by these transits, where they're at for you. Let me know what you think March is going to bring for you guys in the comments below. And with that being said, thank you guys again so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you, and I'll be seeing you next month.